everything started by us supporting the liberation movements in Africa. And we have never had colonies, and we were in favor of independent nations of Africa. Yeah, we were all shocked, and I want to also express my condolences to lost lives and missing people. I think many of us have been crying with the Tanzanian people.
Is there a way where a global system can be much fairer to Africa and Tanzania?
No, it's a complicated one, and I think what we see more and more is, you're absolutely right, there is, the projects are quite, I mean the investments, they are huge.
And we're still expressing our concerns about the lack of justice. We're supporting, of course, the continuation of the Commission of Inquiry's report, etc. But the decision to phase out bilateral cooperation aid is a 100% Swedish foreign policy decision.
Welcome once again to the channel. Today we are going to have a conversation, a very important conversation on key issues around economy, diplomacy and trade. I have the ambassador of Sweden to Tanzania, Charlotta Ozaki Macias, and also the head of cooperation of Swedish credit agents, Lena Bertilsson. They've been here in Tanzania in signing of the SGR contract, financing contract. Very important contract. As you know, Tanzania is now pushing to build its $10 billion railway. So welcome, Ambassador. Welcome, Lena. How is it feel? I'll start with the guest. How is it feel in Tanzania? How is it?
It feels very good, especially like a day like this, because this is a milestone, signing this next phase of the financing of lot 3 and 4 of the SGR project. So that's very important for us as well.
So $1.2 billion, that's a lot of money.
1.3 billion.
1.3 billion, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Actually, you travel using the SGR rail, right?
Yes, correct.
How was the experience?
Very nice. It's on time, it's clean, it's a very friendly atmosphere. And so we are very proud of the train.
Yeah, good start. Sweden has been a very long-standing partner, development partner of Tanzania since, I'll say, the beginning of everything. From 1962, you've been here offering support, offering development aid, and you've done a lot, I'll say. And also, the friendship has been very deep to the founding president up to now. So if you can evaluate your experience on the Swedish development aid and also in trade and all the sector that Sweden has been contributing, what will say it stand out the most for you?
That's a very small question.
Yeah.
Oh la la, 63 years of development cooperation, but not only development cooperation, I want to underline. Yeah. Also political dialogues and political contacts have been very key, because everything started by us supporting the liberation movements in Africa. Yeah. And we have never had colonies, and we were in favor of independent nations of Africa. If we look at Tanzania, where Tanzania is today you are a low and middle income country with macroeconomic stability, steady growth, low inflation, low state debt, means that you're really doing well. And that is not because of us. We have been maybe an enzyme to support processes of development in certain sectors like energy, rural electrification, health sector, education, support to civil society, but also system building, supporting, for example, the central bank and Tanzania's, what is it called? The standard Tanzania Standard Authority, is it called that? Yeah.
Bureau of Standard.
Bureau of Standard, exactly. And I think that we have contributed to parts of development, but Tanzania is a big country and you have made your own choices as well. And there have been other countries also supporting Tanzania's development. So I think all in all, I would say I'm very proud of what Sweden has contributed with. And I met so many Tanzanians who have been grateful and for the cooperation. But then I think also Tanzania today faces some challenges that are really up to the Tanzanian government to decide upon. And so from a long-term perspective, it's hard to say exactly what we contributed to. But in this sector I mentioned, I think we can see a footprint that has been ours.
Yeah. If you look back to 2013, the commitment was that Tanzania will remain Sweden will remain the biggest partner of Sweden in Africa. That was 2013 when the partnership was around 50 years. But now we in 2025 there was a big shift. I'll say for somebody in Tanzania, it's a big shift because Tanzania is the largest recipient of the Sweden Development Assistance for a long time. That is since you established development assistance. But in December 2025, it was announced that development cooperation is being phased out. So what happened and what do we expect?
Well, I like to see it as a natural graduation. You know, we have, as you said, you have been the biggest recipient and you have been the biggest, most important recipient from our perspective too. So after 63 years, it's also logical for us to graduate into a new kind of partnership. And this shift doesn't mean that we're leaving at all. We will remain here in Tanzania with a big presence at the embassy, but our focus will be more of trade and economic development than on grants and development cooperation aid. However, we are also going to continue to the development agenda of Tanzania via EU, via UN, via the international financial institutions like the World Bank, IMF, Africa Development Bank, EIB, the European Investment Bank. And there will be also funds coming from SIDA, Swedish Development Agency, from the capital, from Stockholm, to benefiting Tanzania. So it might sound like more drastic than it is actually, and I like to tell the story like this. You know, we have had long good relationship. We have contributed with a lot of financing, but also skills development and people-to-people development. And now it's time to move into next phase. It's also in line with the Vision 2050 of Tanzania. So I hope, and I believe actually, that this will lead us into a new kind of strategic partnership that will be beneficial for both of us.
Yeah, I'll take that as a segue to ask Lena, the head of cooperation of Swedish Export Credit Agency. You've been in Tanzania, and actually the ICA is providing a lot of finance for the SGR railway. Your assessment of, I'll say, the prospect first, how do you see the investment as far as your experience as a financer, but also the future of it? Should we expect more opportunities from your end? Yeah.
No, for us this is a long-term commitment, obviously, and Sweden, we were involved in a very early stage, I think almost 10 years ago, and so we have worked on this project from the very beginning, and of course, from a Swedish perspective, we believe we have a lot to contribute with because of the technical expertise, Sweden has a very strong supply chain in railway and also in electrification. So I think what we bring to Tanzania is also the technical expertise that will obviously benefit the project a lot. So that's how we got involved, and of course with this project there will be more activities around it in relation to transmission, in relation to other types of transportation as well. So it's a long-term commitment from our side.
The Tanzania government is pushing to attract more FDI, to attract companies from countries like Sweden to invest here in terms of technology, in terms of building factories here. So in your analysis, I understand that you do a lot of risk analysis. How would you put Tanzania as far as investment is concerned?
Well, I think, again, what we have seen from there are a lot of Swedish companies also being present here in the country. And of course, along with a project like this, there will be more attraction from the Swedish corporate side as well.
I see. So far, I've seen that Swedish companies have managed to gain around 1.5 billion kronas, which for Tanzania is like 400 billions through this project. Of course, Tanzania has gained, I'll say, technology, but also the final product. As far as the Swedish companies that we expect to bring in new technologies, how will your organization support them, maybe to stay, if they're interested to stay?
Yeah, I think the benefit with the EKN, the Swedish Export Credit Agency, we were established back in 1933. So we are a government agency with the aim to promote Swedish export and Swedish industrialization and internationalization. And being a government agency like EKN, we benefit from the same credit rating like the sovereign, like the Kingdom of Sweden. So it's a AAA rating, which means that when we come in and support a product like this with guarantees, we will be able to attract more private capital to a financing like this, which wouldn't maybe happen in the same magnitude if we haven't been involved. So it also means that you will receive a much long-term financing solution, meaning that it will the repayment for a loan like this will be, the last repayment is only back in 2045 or something. So in that sense, the financing that we can support is a very attractive one. And I think this way, of course, it will the Swedish companies will be brought in to contribute to the project.
Yeah. Ambassador, you always hear with Swedish companies. You hear them, their experiences, they interact with different agencies. They interact, I would say, with even the last consumer, the Tanzanian sometimes. So what do they say about their experience in the country?
The reason why they're here is because it's a good market, and they see business opportunities. That's why they want to be here. Not all of them have offices in Tanzania, but they might have them in Nairobi. But they usually mention 3 hurdles for their expansion, and that is the challenge to recruit skilled workers. Second is red tape, bureaucracy, corruption. And third is TRA. Yeah.
So when we talk about skills, what type of skills are they in need of?
Usually engineering level, or engineers. So these companies put a lot of effort into recruiting students from university and then paying for increasing their competences in order to for them to work in the companies.
So as you mentioned in the beginning, the Vision 2050, one of the push that Tanzania government is doing is to make Tanzania a conducive environment where they can attract companies and make them stay and invest more. So in your experience from these three things you've mentioned, what should Tanzania do to get there, where companies will feel more confident to invest, but to stay and also expand their investment?
Yeah, these are topics we usually bring up with representatives of the government, that a more conducive climate, a business climate, is necessary to attract more FDI. And that means a regulatory framework that is more predictable, and that there is a system of accountability and justice if things go wrong. So transparency, very, very important. Yeah, I think that is the fundament. And your first question, I would say, is education. It doesn't mean that everybody needs a university degree at all, but to improve the quality of education from, young children up to secondary.
Yeah.
Educational system is key for all of us in all countries, right?
Yeah. You have a very diverse industry as far as engineering is concerned. What did you do in Sweden to make sure that you have company like Hitachi, you have company which actually innovate and build stuff? What did Sweden do that Tanzania maybe can copy? Maybe you can.
I think education. No, I think education is key here.
Yeah.
Of course, in Sweden, it's for free. It's paid by the government. So I think that has fostered...
Including university.
Including
so
university.
Elementary education and university is for free.
I think that's one of the reasons that has fostered a lot of... Because it's a lot of engineering in... I think Sweden is known for its famous engineering and entrepreneurship in that field. So, and there are also a lot of the larger companies that are feeding in the smaller ones. So in a way, it's a quite small country. So in that sense, it may be easier also to cooperate.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just to add on that, Tanzania is positioned, I would say, unique geographical position. It has the Indian Ocean, which is the door to, you have countries, landlocked country like Zambia, DRC, it has like 180 million population. You have a lot of countries, about 8 of them that are depending on Tanzania. And Tanzania is pushing now to construct the SGR railway, not just to end in Tanzania, but to push to Burundi, to DRC. These are markets, vast markets, which they are connected to, I would say, global supply chain of minerals. It's very linked. So in terms of finance, if Tanzania is going to look to say, we need to push further, so will you be maybe willing with partners
yes.
to say?
Of course. Yes, of course. I mean, we are very much engaged in this, and of course, we are taking a large portion, so to speak, of commitment from our side on this project, and we are fully aware about the plans and etc. etc. So we need to look, of course, case by case on for which countries we can support. But I think one thing which I would like to highlight is the fact that SGR in this project is such a success. So a lot of neighboring countries, they are now trying to copy it. So we see that in Uganda now. So a lot of learning and there is a lot of interaction with Uganda. They want to learn what has Tanzania done and how can we do something similar. So that's something. So that's how we also will follow in that direction, and it could be other opportunities as well. So it's very interesting when you have such a landmark transaction and how it can also impact the neighboring countries.
There's a perception and also a claim around, I would say, economists in Africa that there is a way that countries in Africa are being rated unfairly by the global financial system, that they end up always taking up these very expensive loans, which they can't break even. They end up become a burden to their citizens, and they can't even build. So in your experience, as far as building a system where maybe Africa can also access loans which are a bit affordable, what is your experience from as somebody who sit and provide loan? Is there a way where a global system can be much fairer to Africa and Tanzania?
No, it's a complicated one, and I think what we see more and more is, you're absolutely right. There is the projects are quite. I mean, the investments, they are huge. So I think you need a lot of different sources in order to put everything together. So I think we can do our bit, but of course there is a limit on how much we can take on, so to speak. So we also need other sources and other partners in this. And we have seen this in some countries that there is a popular phrase, it's called blended financing, which means that you are engaging in different kinds of development funds and even pension funds, but maybe that it's the public guarantees, like the ones from us, that will be the cornerstone, and then it will build around that in order to attract other sources of funding as well. Because you're absolutely right. In order to get a project like this fully financed, it requires a lot of different sources. And there is still some work to be done, to be honest.
May I add that?
Yes.
Because I'm thinking out of, from a development perspective, it is very difficult to grow, meaning building out your infrastructure for energy and transportation without borrowing money. We also did that when we built the railway through Sweden. We didn't have the funds. So it was a huge investment for us also, but it was crucial for the development of Sweden, because our industry is built on forestry and mining, and without the railway, we would never have been able to transport our goods and become a trading nation, you know. And also when it comes to SGR, I find it very interesting that the financing from the export credit agencies like Sweden's, but also including now Poland and Italy, takes the bulk of the risk. And the commercial banks are just a smaller portion, which means that Tanzania gets the best possible loans available on earth, you know, because the interest rate is low. And the, what do you call it, payoff time?
Yeah, tenor, we can call it, the repayment period.
The repayment period is much longer than any commercial banks. So it is, of course, important for any developing country to seek the good loans, you know, and know what you're signing on.
Yeah, I see. Just to take you back to the decision that was announced in December.
It's okay, I'm ready.
So, was it linked to any political development in the country?
It's a good question. I get it all the time. No, it wasn't. I mean, from the embassy's perspective, it was a timing that was not very good. We had you had the elections here in October that became violent, and we expressed our concerns, and we're still expressing our concerns about the lack of justice. We're supporting, of course, the continuation of the Commission of Inquiry's report, etc. But the decision to phase out bilateral cooperation aid is a 100% Swedish foreign policy decision based on a changing geographic and security, geopolitical environment in Europe and in the world. And my government decided already 3 years ago that they wanted to reduce development cooperation, to focus on, our own security in the region, and also on Ukraine. So these are our two priorities. And therefore, we are closing down 3 embassies in the world. So in Bolivia, Liberia, and Zimbabwe. And we're phasing out development cooperation in 5 countries, including Mozambique and Tanzania. But we're remaining here with our embassy. So it can look like it was a punishment, but I would say, no, we don't work like that. We're remaining here, and we continue to have a dialogue with our counterpartners. That's how we do diplomacy.
Yeah, Sweden foreign policy is very big on rule of law, international law, human rights. In your perception, I'll say, as a long-standing partner of Tanzania, after the events of October 29, your cooperation with Tanzania, what does it look like? And as a partner, what is your advice, or maybe what your approach as far as response to what happened in Tanzania? Which I think, because it's something that everyone in the world is looking at, and it's something that has never happened before. Yeah.
Yeah, we were all shocked, and I want to also express my condolences to lost lives and missing people. I think many of us have been crying with the Tanzanian people. And we were shocked because it has never happened here before. There's been violence, of course, in Tanzania, like in many other countries, also ours. But the magnitude was shocking. Yeah. So we did what we usually do. We have been talking to all political partners that we have. The government of Tanzania knows that when we meet, we speak honestly, because with friends you can be honest. You talk about your common interests, but you can also agree that you disagree on certain things. You agree that you disagree, I mean. So the action we took was together with the EU, but also other like-minded countries like Norway and Switzerland, the UK, the US. We have been in dialogue with the representatives of the government. We've been publishing articles in media. We have been in dialogue with the World Bank about the financing of certain programs. We also have, in the EU context, postponed some of the programs here in Tanzania. We have advocated for a trustworthy Commission of Inquiry in the Human Rights Council in Geneva. So we have used all the bilateral tools to talk to the government here. We have used the international tools, the multilateral tools, to support the healing of Tanzania.
So from now, I'll say the phasing out of development cooperation. You also support a lot of civil society organizations, organizations like Legal and Human Rights Center, that actually look at issues like what happened in October 29. So what is their prospect? Is that going to change? You have many organizations that Tanzania look up to. They listen to them, they support Tanzania in one way or another, but also they support the vision of the country, like the Vision 2050. So what is their prospect after the phasing out of the development cooperation?
I must say that it is challenging for them. It is. However, many of our partner organizations, they're also graduating because they're doing so well. You mentioned LHRC, for example, who we supported for around 20 years, I think. They are very well established and known, and other countries are also looking into the possibility of cooperating with them. But of course, it will be, they will be feeling that our financial support, but also our other kind of support that we give, will affect them. But I rest assured that they can also find new sources of financing and other partners. And hopefully also in the future, there will be internal financing coming from Tanzanians who like to support the Tanzania civil society.
Okay, I'll go back to Lena. You mentioned there are 3 partners in the consortium. That is Italy, Export Credit Agency, Poland, and how difficult or how easy was it to put together the consortium?
I must admit, it's a quite complex exercise to do this, of course. And it's a bank who's arranging the financing, and they are, of course, also responsible to make sure that all the parties will be brought together. But of course, we have a lot of cooperation between the different export credit agencies. So it's quite, nowadays, it's more and more common that we work together with projects of this magnitude. Of course, we had the privilege of being involved from the very beginning. So we were involved in lot 1 and 2, together with Denmark. And now for this lot 3 and 4, it was together with Italy and Poland. So of course we have learned a lot during this journey, which is of course helpful for everybody, that we can support the others as well. And to add to this, it's actually 2 more export agencies involved in this transaction, because we are also using some reinsurance. Looking at this project, it supplies from all different kinds of countries, even though the largest portion is related to Sweden. But there are still some component is from Japan and Switzerland, and then of course Poland and Italy as well. So yeah, that adds to the complexity. But we are working more and more together in transaction like this. So we are quite used to it as well.
Are you supporting any the kind of project like that anywhere in Africa?
Oh yes, in a lot of countries.
I see.
Yeah. So it's in solar energy. We have done in Angola, for instance. We have done a lot of transmission projects. Sweden, we are very strong in transportation and very strong in the energy space with transmission. So I think looking at we have done some actually hospital as well, water treatment, but I would say the large bulk of the businesses that we have supported would be within transportation and transmission. Yes, telecoms, of course. That's very big from Sweden.
Yeah. So as far as your strategy is concerned, which direction are you looking at in terms of Africa? Is it more telecom or just diverse?
We follow the industry and the demand, of course. But I think we also, if we want to maybe focus a little bit on where we have our competitive edge, I would say it's still going to be transport and all kinds of projects related to electrification, like supporting with grid substations, with transmission lines, etc., etc. And so I think that would be our main focus even going forward.
If just to finalize this conversation, where do you see the cooperation between Tanzania and Sweden in the next 50 years? Because we have written we are now in 63.
Yes.
Where do you see it? But I would also like you to explain the Sweden approach as far as the development in international law. We've seen a lot of changes as far as international law is concerned. That there's a lot of pushback, there's a lot of changes. There are countries that push to remain as they are, like I would say to make decision just on their own. There are countries that push for multilateral organizations like UN to continue to serve their purpose. So what is Sweden's approach in that? So two questions.
Oh, you're giving me so easy questions. I'm thinking about the future, what I would like to see, 2050. I would see that we are partners in support of a rule-based world order that is different than what we had, different from what we're having now, but that we have joined forces trying to supporting a system, a world where we take into account the climate challenges and we are serious about it, and that we support each other when it comes to rule-based trade flows, for example, that there is more predictability and also equity, and that we are partnering in because there will be other countries in support of growing and developing. So I would like to have Tanzania side by side on the international arena as well, not only bilaterally. Because I think the world needs Tanzania's voice. You've always been, the fighter of freedom. You've been hosting freedom fighters. You've been a very peaceful country, So I think you have something to tell, not only Africa, but the rest of the world. So I think that's the partnership for the future. And when it comes to international law, international law has not changed, but countries' perception and interpretation of what we have agreed on has changed. And there I hope that we, also from now, will stand together and say that we believe in the international regulations that we have agreed on and that we stand up together for it.
How does that stand together happen?
How it has been.
How does that happen? Like countries to stand together and say this is.
I mean, right now we have the UN, and the UN needs a reform. And here I think we are pretty much in line with each other, what the UN reform can contain. And then also in regional conflicts, like the Great Lakes situation here, in Ukraine, in the Middle East, that we have a tight dialogue and that we see that we are on this right side, not right, but on the same side when it comes to the importance of peace. Because we know that war and armed conflicts is the most important factor when it comes to regression, violence, humanitarian crises, etc. And there I think we are on the same line.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe final word, Lena?
Oh, final word from my side. No, as I mentioned before, since we are here also to talk about this SGR project, and for us it's very important, and we are really looking forward to the next phases.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the end of our conversation today. We've been discussing various issues with the Ambassador of Sweden Tanzania, and also head of large corporation of the Swedish Export Credit Agents, Lena Bertilsson. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Welcome again to the channel.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.